Ciao Bella, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sue Channel in the house, or I like to say Sue Chanel.
That's right.
And my guest tonight, is Gary. Now, Gary, I do not want to say your last name wrong.
Boscia.
Boscia.
Right.
Okay.
Yay. Okay, I was right. I took a shot at it.
That's what I was going to say, but I just wanted to be correct. But
well, now you know it.
Now I know it. But I am still going to always call you linguine with clam sauce. I've always you will always be linguine with clam sauce in my head.
Okay.
Well, Gary, I guess there's worse things you could be called, right? I guess.
I've been called a lot worse.
I bet you have. I can picture it. Well, welcome to Dawn at Night. Sue Channel is my co-host, and as I was saying, our guest tonight is Gary. He is such a cool, interesting guy. I met him recently, and I wanted to talk about, just because I find the whole theory fascinating, and I was watching the show a few weeks ago about the theory of the Jersey Devil. And Gary, being a New Jersey native, I thought would be awesome to talk about this with, because I'm sure growing up in Jersey, you were probably raised with that whole story.
Well, yeah.
Theory.
The rumors were flying ever since I was a kid.
Well, I was doing some reading on it, and it was so much more interesting, and there was more information out there than I thought there was. So what I found interesting was that a lot of it started I think it said 260 years ago.
Yes.
And a lot of the sightings were around 1909.
Right. That's when there were mass sightings. Over 1,000 people I've seen, within that time period of 1909. Over 1,000 people have witnessed the Jersey Devil.
Now, maybe we should, I don't know, do you want to describe, in case some people have known it? Because I really didn't know about the Jersey Devil really until a few years ago.
Yeah, me neither, actually. I was watching one of those pre-Halloween, Travel Channel things.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You happen to catch a special on it. Well, supposedly, Mother Leeds, okay, it's either Mother Leeds, also the name, but we're going to describe the Jersey Devil to you first. Supposedly, he's 3.5 feet tall. It's got a goat-like face with horns. It's got, it has very skinny legs. It's got a forked tail and red eyes, and it's got bat-like wings.
You saw my picture.
Either that or he's talking about somebody from my high school yearbook, somebody that I dated back in the 1980s. Anyway.
So, yeah, that's the description on him. And, it's pretty interesting because people say he has, maybe a collie-shaped face. Some people say it's a goat-shaped face. Others say it's a horse-like shape. But, I mean, the description is generally the same throughout the people who have witnessed him in the early 1900s.
Now, you growing up, what did you hear of it? What can you tell me about, your experience with it?
Well, I'll tell you, I was I used to go to a convention for Wildwood, New Jersey every year with my father for VFW. And every time we take the ride down the parkway getting towards the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, I would always keep an eye out and see if I could see anything, which I never did. But, I mean, when it started to get dark at night, kids were always leery, so we'd always go inside the hotel room to the game room instead of staying outside trying to look for trouble. If you know
really?
Yeah, I mean, it scared us as kids, but and it would scare any child,
Oh, absolutely. Now, did your parents or parent ever, talk about it, or is it a scare tactic?
They never, well, yeah, I used to have to be home at a certain time, so, I mean, they would use that as a scare tactic once in a while. If you're not home on time, the Jersey Devil's going to get you, so. But, yeah, needless to say, I was always home on time.
My dad was a cop, so I think just my mom saying you better be home on time or else your father's going to tatty your ass, that probably would scare me more than the Jersey Devil. Just saying.
Yeah. The thing my mom's favorite saying was waiting until your father gets home.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, have you yourself ever known anybody that you put all your faith in, that you believe really saw it, or you could really trust what they said?
Well, I mean, I've never encountered anyone that, at all my years that has ever seen it. So, I mean, I could definitively say that no one I know has witnessed the Jersey Devil.
Now, tell me about the Pine. Was it the Pine Barrens?
Right.
Someone was just telling me that I had no idea how large, and how massive the Pine Barrens were. I didn't even know what they were, but they said that some people actually live in there.
Yeah, they do, actually. I mean, it is so wooded. I mean, you can get lost and they won't find you. I mean, that's how isolated, but it's huge, but very isolated part of New Jersey, in South Jersey. I mean, it's, miles and miles and miles of dense woods and forests and stuff. So you can easily get lost if you tried to go look for the Jersey Devil if you didn't know where you were going.
Right.
There are people that have tried to actually go on a Jersey Devil hunt, too, as well.
That would be really interesting.
I mean, I would like to try that maybe once just to, to check it out. I mean, I know they called it the Leeds House back then. They say there's still part of the foundation that is still there. I mean, there's no buildings. It's just part of the foundation. But it's trying to find it would be like finding a needle in a haystack, only because the brush is so thick now it's overgrown. So finding that foundation would probably be impossible.
I wonder, with ancient land surveying, I wonder if they still have the, what do you want to call it, if you could find it on old records.
I mean, if you asked a local historian or genealogist, yeah, I'm sure they might have the coordinates on exactly where the Lead House was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would have to look into that.
Now, is it in the Pine Barrens? I mean, is that, as the story goes, that it's in there, or?
Well, it was, well, the story goes, Mother Leeds had 12 children, and after finding out that she was pregnant for the 13th time, she stated that this one would be the devil.
So, I can see your point.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like
and supposedly Mother Leeds was a witch, and the child's father supposedly was the devil himself, according to Mother Leeds. Now, in 1735, Mother Leeds went into labor on a stormy night, and she was surrounded by her friends, and the child was supposedly born normal. And then it had changed form. It went from a normal baby to a creature with hooves and a goat head, bat wings and a forked tail. Then it supposedly let out a growl and a scream, and it killed the midwife before flying out of the chimney. So then as it flew out of the chimney, it circled the villages and headed towards the Pine Barrens.
oh my God.
And in 1740, The clergy was a clergy that exorcised the demon for 100 years, and it wasn't seen again until 1890. So, I mean, yeah, it was...
That is one old damn baby.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if the mother Leeds, which her first name was Deborah. Now, I don't know if she cursed the baby by saying, if I have another child, the 13th baby is going to be the devil. I mean, I'm sure some people believe in curses and so on and so forth, but, might have well been a curse, and maybe very well might have been the devil.
I tend to believe, not wholeheartedly, but I won't lie, I do tend to believe if there's a lot of intent behind a curse or a lot of anger, I do believe that energy and the intent behind the person putting a curse, I do believe that it can happen. I think it has to be an extreme situation, but I do believe, that's just my personal belief.
Right. Well, and especially Deborah Leeds, Mother Leeds, supposedly she was a witch, so if she was, she might have very well have put a spell on the baby.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is behind all this folklore, no matter how it evolves, there is some essence of truth.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Whether or not, a series of bad luck happen, who knows, but there's something, it evolves, we all understand that, but, there's something that starts it, whether it was just one thing and then, the story gets blown out of proportion or whatever, but still, there's got to be some foundation to begin with.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, and like I said, I believe it was 1903 is when, over 1,000 people have witnessed it, So, I mean, for 1,000 people to see it, and it wasn't in one area. I mean, this thing went as far as Delaware and, parts of Maryland.
Wow.
So it actually wasn't just isolated to New Jersey itself. But for the most part, yes, it is the Jersey. It was born in New Jersey in the Pine Barrens, and, so it's the Jersey Devil.
Well, I can only imagine life back in, near the Pine Barrens in New Jersey in 17-something.
Yeah, in 1736. I mean, I don't even know if they made candles back then. So, who knows,
Imagine, granted, that's how it was back then. I just imagine this woman's life, she's probably given birth every time, ever since she was 10 years old, just popping out kids, and you've got no modern conveniences, and I can't even imagine. I would probably have, said something similar myself.
Right.
But I do believe there has to be some kind of truth to it. I mean, maybe the baby was born with club feet or,
Right.
formed hands or something.
According to some of the, I was reading up on it a little bit myself, and according to some people, it was born normal, and according to other people, there was a deformity. We weren't there in the 1700s, so we weren't there to witness it, so we don't know exactly what the exact story is.
Right.
But, if people are saying, a lot of people saying that all features are the same and everything, I'm sure there's some sort of truth to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was reading how so many, you figure out of all the people that have seen this and witnessed it, not every single one of them is crazy.
Right, exactly.
UFO sightings. I just don't. There's so many credible witnesses.
Sure. Police officers. You have Army pilots, and that are credible witnesses that have witnessed these things. But the government wants to keep that under wraps.
Oh, I believe that, honestly, and I'm not trying to sound like one of those paranoid, conspiracy theory people, but I really believe that the government probably has some kind of weird species of everything hidden somewhere.
Right.
Now, I'll say this. Back in a long time, I dated this guy, obviously, who was, I don't know what you'd want to call it, not Secret Service, but he had been in the Army. He had top rank. This guy is, So one night we were having a few cocktails, and his whole demeanor changed. And, always being in the paranormal, I was, questioning about maybe what the government's hiding. And he became so nervous. And so, he just turned so weird, and he's like, you have no idea what the government's hiding.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that there's a lot more going on than we actually know or that they want us to know. Trust me.
Yeah, and I was mentioning just certain random things UFOs. I mean, just different stories that would pop into my head. And he was just he became, I can't even express how upset he became. And he just kept saying, I can't talk about it. You have no idea. So something traumatized him when he was doing that.
Oh, I'm sure. And they were sworn to secrecy, those people. They were actually supposedly threatening lives of the family, an armyman seen, say Roswell, for instance. Yeah, we've seen an alien that was 3 feet tall and, a shade of grayish, greenish color. But they swore them to secrecy, and if not, they would tell them, look, your family could be in danger if you open your mouth. So, these people were sworn into secrecy.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it. I mean, because the more stuff you're doing, you really obviously can't trust everyone. And granted, or got out or information or proof, solid proof got out. You may have chaos, panic with most people, but I remember I felt I was pressing them a little bit too much, and I get that. But I mean, I the date because he was so I hit a nerve of some kind.
Right.
And
so I mean, what's that tell you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, his terror really affected me, and you obviously didn't have to tell me everything because you can just use your imagination, but that always stuck with me, and I've always oh my God, what other things? Because my daughters recently have been at the age where they have all sorts of questions and is this real? Is that real? And I hate to, not say, oh no, none of that's real. So I'm pretty honest about it. But then they're like, why isn't the government telling us this?
Yeah, because they don't want to cause mass chaos.
So now my kids go around with some of their friends if they happen to get on the subject. There's aliens. The government's hiding it. And as I stand there hiding my head going, oh, boy.
Yeah, right.
One of these days I'll get a call from the teacher. Your daughters are telling the other kids that there's monsters and aliens and the government's hiding it.
Yeah.
But look at, for example, during the Vietnam War, and even things as, more recent wars, but Agent Orange.
Oh.
The government will swear up and down that nobody was ever affected by Agent Orange.
Yeah.
But we will not mention names.
Yeah, because we know someone very well.
We know someone who is advised, do not father any more children because we can't prove it, but we think you were exposed to Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And,
so, I mean, it's a very powerful thing. And I think behind everything, whether or not it's exaggerated, there's at least a little ounce of truth.
Oh, sure.
I mean, this shit didn't just start out, it's not, we go back to the topic that we were talking about last week with Jason, it's not mass hysteria.
No.
So you get reputable people saying, hey, I've seen something. This is not normal. No, this wasn't a deer. No, this wasn't a, So, yeah, I mean, there's got to be at least a minimal ounce of truth, if not more.
Absolutely. What are the chances of, mass hallucinations? I mean, think about it.
Right, exactly.
If I'm going to have a mass hallucination, it's not going to be, about something that looks like that. I can tell you that right now. And I'm sure you're with me, Sue, that if I'm going to go
off...
We're
going horseback ride, never mind.
I'm going horseback riding with a naked man on a saddle. In my mind, I may be riding a horse, but...
Oh, Lord.
It's amazing how we go from one topic to the other on this show.
I can't help that.
Poor Gary. He's like, well, how do I top that comment? It's like, what?
I'm just absorbing it. My brain is a sponge now.
No, I would actually, not that there's any way to go looking for the Jersey Devil, but just, I'm so stupid, or I look for such, getting myself into trouble. It'd be a fun thing to go do. I mean, again, not that there's any specific area besides the Pine Barrens to go looking, and, which would probably be really stupid to go wandering in there, but that would kind of be an interesting thing to go do.
That would be a great expedition. I mean, if we did it for like 4 days, a bunch of us got together and, and just camped out and see if we can get anything. That would be something to look into down the road.
That would wouldn't it?
I mean, let alone the concept that there's more than like 20 trees in one designated spot in New Jersey, period. The fact that there's a whole pine barrows. I mean,
I had no idea. I was like, what?
Yeah, I didn't either. I've only seen concrete in New
Jersey. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of wilderness there. I mean, there's 80 to 100 miles of the Pine Barrens, which is just...
That's awesome.
Like isolated woods. I mean, it's like you can get rid of a body there and nobody would find it.
I was just going to say that.
There you go.
Sue, we'll take a trip down, pack up the trunk with a few things we want to get rid of. Head down the Pine Barrens.
Yeah, they'll never find it.
Have our
Forget about it. Yeah.
Forget about it.
I can't even top that. Nobody can do it like that. See, you got it down, Gary.
For the first time I saw Gary, and I think you probably thought the same thing, so looked at him and I was like, that guy's from New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely.
Right.
Or let's put it this way. When I found out you were from New Jersey, there was not 1 ounce of surprise at all.
Some people have a certain look. I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, it was just like the epitome of what I picture, like a guy from New Jersey looking like and talking like.
Maybe it's all those hats that guys from the E Street Band wear. You just kind of
right.
There you go.
Well, you noticed there was no fist pumping going on, so you know that Jersey Shore is a bunch of horses.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Absolutely, thank God.
That would have taken it to, like, a really, really ignorant level.
Yeah. No, that show is just a mockery of Jersey, I'll tell you.
It did. I confess, when it first came out, I watched it a few times just because, it's like watching a train wreck. And yep. I was like, are people really this ignorant? And I thought, wow, this is really giving Jersey a horrible name.
Yeah, and it did, actually. It really did, man.
I mean, people get sucked in. Well, now, where's Honey Boo Boo? What state's that? I mean, that state can thank,
Oh, my God, that thing.
Oh, my God.
That's Georgia.
Talk about a train wreck.
Yeah, that's Georgia.
I
was
want
it
to
Georgia? Okay, well, there you go.
slap her, the mother's fat face. I swear to God. That, she is so disgusting.
Oh my God! I mean, the things she does, it's just amazing. The faces she makes. She sneezes. She don't cover her mouth. So, I mean, the spit flies everywhere. Oh. I don't understand, like, whatever channel it's on. What makes them think? I mean, obviously they're doing well, and we like to watch ignorance at its best as Americans. We really do. But I mean, they subtitle what she's saying. I was flicking through the other night and it was on, and I'm like, all right. I watched it for 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed for her. Yeah, I was too when I first. I mean, my wife, she watches it religiously just because she can't stop laughing.
Right. Sometimes why we do that, I think, is because it's like, oh my God, this cannot be real.
If nobody watched it, then, you know, I mean, evidently everybody's watching it because it's all about the ratings, you know, so.
Right. And I have to be honest, the only reality show that I got sucked into, and it was because my husband and I both watched Ink Masters.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well,
because the guy that both have ink, this guy, Matty Hicksom, and he came in third. And so it's like we were, oh my God, we were rooting for him the whole way. And the fact that he made third was phenomenal because I'm telling you, the guy is talented. That's the only, like, quote, reality show I got into ever, was because I actually knew the person on the show, and it was pretty cool. So, but, yeah, Honey Boo Boo, I can't. The minute she opens her mouth, I just have this incredible urge to vomit, so I can't watch it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I mean, there'll be times that I do watch it with her, and I get embarrassed for them. So I mean, like, I'm like, don't these people get embarrassed? You know, like,
I know.
you know, like, you got to go to the supermarket eventually. You know what I mean? So what are people going to think of you?
Right. It's almost like you look at people like that, and you think, my God, there are certain red flags that certain people should just not procreate.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm like,
someone laid down with her and got her pregnant several times. I mean, seriously, Gary, a guy's point of view, what would it?
There's not enough butter in the world.
Thank God, there's men out there that still have standards. Amen. Oh, wow.
Gary's standards may not be high, but he has them.
Hey.
I'm sorry. Not really.
It's all good.
I think Gary knew what he was jumping into when he said he'd get your show, so, you know.
Oh, yeah, I was looking forward to it. I was actually kind of honored that I was there, so thank you very much, Dawn. I appreciate it. And so,
well, you're so, I mean, you know, you meet some people and they're like, you know, every one of Jason's friends I've met, and they're awesome, and they're so interesting. They really are. And, well, I want to talk about, now, I know, when you go paranormal investigating, ghost hunting, whatever you want to call it, how do you like to do it? Or with your personal experiences?
I mean, to tell you the truth, I go in as a skeptic. Okay? I mean, I got to say, I'm the type of person that has to see it to believe it.
Right.
And, you know, when I moved to Secaucus back in '84 to town in New Jersey, the house that I lived in was absolutely haunted, and that's when I really started getting into the paranormal, you know, and then the shows started coming out in the 90s and stuff. So, I mean, it was a passion of mine, or storm chasing. But,
oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah, I like that too, actually. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
I like the adrenaline, you know. I mean, when I go into a building or to a residence, I get that, you know, like that anxious feeling. You know, you got butterflies in your stomach, and you know, it's an adrenaline rush.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, experiences already that I can't explain. And I mean, your sixth sense does kick in. I mean, you know, walk into a hallway, or you hit a cold spot, or you stop dead in your tracks, and hairs are rising up on your neck and on your arms. I mean, that's your body telling you something.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, I go in as a skeptic, but I have had personal experiences, and I'm sure there's going to be many more to come.
Now, do you think? Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I think this is something that, it seems like more than ever. Do you think that the paranormal, the interest, which seems to be, so peaked right now, do you think that it will ever wane? I mean, people say, oh, this is just a phase, and eventually it's going to get old. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm just curious as what you think about.
You know what? It's at an all-time high right now, and I'd say in a couple of years it's going to be at a low again, and then it's going to pick right back up. I mean,
I agree.
It's always paranormal. Think about it. I mean, there's things people can't explain that have happened to them. People see things in the corner of their eyes. People see balls of light. People see actual manifestations. I mean, and there's multiple witnesses, family members that have seen it together. So you think about it. If a person dies tragically or, unexpectedly, they're made of energy. Where does that energy go,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're stuck in a dimension that, they didn't pass on, let's say to God, and they're stuck. I mean, yeah, you might capture that evidence on video or audio, for that matter, I mean, that energy has to go somewhere.
Well, supposedly they've weighed a body immediately before death and then immediately after death. The body weighed less after death by a few ounces, and they're wondering if that, this is just something I heard one of my friends was telling me. It's like, is that, the soul, leaving the body? I don't know. I mean,
it could very well be.
Light, there's no weight, there's no substance to light. So, I mean, how do you describe that? But it's a good point.
Right. Yep. I mean, we're all made up of energy, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, we're all made up of energy, and our energy goes somewhere. So, I mean, why not an insane asylum? These people, the way they were tortured back in the day with electroshock therapy and stuff.
Right.
I mean, they were tortured, these poor people. I mean, I'd come back and haunt people too,
Damn right.
It is out there. I believe it's out there. If I didn't believe it was out there, I wouldn't be doing it.
Now, when I worked in the nursing home field many years ago for a long time, for about 10 years, and I sat with people, several people that passed when I was sitting there, because sadly, so often, some of the kindest people I took care of that had 2, 3, 4 children, and none of those kids showed up.
Yeah, how sad is that?
I mean, and these were good people. I obviously had access to their charts and everything, so I would read their history, and they weren't, once in a while, you're obviously from way back when you have the parent, it would be noted so-and-so was abusive, children say, but it was rare.
Right.
And there's 2 particular occasions that I sat with the person when they passed, and I saw something come out of the body, and there was one particular woman, I saw something come out of the body. The best way I can describe it is like if you had just walked into a room where someone just had a cigarette,
right,
and there was such a really light haze, or like on a humid day you can see the haze.
Right.
It kind of appeared that way and then went up and off. And then this particular woman, about, 10 seconds later, that is my witness, I knew she was still in the room. and she was like, I could see her looking at me. She was looking at herself, and I went out of the room for maybe 5 seconds to have one of the girls come in and help me take care of her. And she came in, and she was young. She started making a comment because she was nervous. She had never seen a dead body before.
Right.
And I got so angry, and I forget, well, not that I said the woman's name anyway, but I said, she's still here in this room. And she was like, what? I said, she's right there. And the poor girl, like, I said it knowing it as a good thing, or just giving her the information, and the poor girl just ran out of the room. She was like, I think she probably shit her pants. And
yeah,
I don't feel bad about it, but I mean, I've seen that happen twice, and I've seen a man who was brain dead, and I took care of him, and he died. His body straightened out. He sat up. He spoke something, and he laid back down. I mean, so for me, there's definitely something.
Well, I believe that, you know, when you pass, that you actually do leave your body, and you can see yourself and your family or your loved ones, or even the nurses or doctors around you. I believe that, you know, before you go to that light. I mean, that's a definite possibility. I mean, and you saying you've seen it more than once, I mean, well, you know, why not be true? You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, the day that my dad died, you know, he used to wear this stuff in his hair kind of back in the day when they used to slit their hair back.
Right.
It was called hask, and it had a very distinct smell to it. You could buy it anywhere, supermarket, whatever, but, you know, they slit their hair back. And the day that my dad died, you know, I was living in Virginia at the time, and my sister's like, oh, my God, you know, can you please call, you know, so-and-so, because I really don't want to deal with that conversation and ever. And so I'm like, okay, I'll call and let him know. So I called the guy, and we were talking about my dad, kind of reminiscing. Now, they hadn't made hask probably since the early 80s, and our dad died in 2006. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in the living room. Now, he died here in, you know, Massachusetts, Virginia. And all of a sudden, my cat, like, got on her hind legs, and she was fighting at something, like somebody was playing with her, like holding, like, a little yarn ball or something. And I was overwhelmed with the sense of the smell of hask. It's not something you smell all the time. And it's like, okay, back in the time that I spent with him the most, he was in his 50s. He would have been wearing hask. So I remember him, that's the prime of his life that I remember him as, even though, you know, my older brothers and sisters remember him younger. So who's to say that wasn't him? Okay, she's talking to my best friend about me passing. Let me just eavesdrop and see what she's saying.
And letting you know that he's there.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, there is a distinctive smell. It was not anything else. It was his hask.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, and there's certain scents that, you know, smells that you haven't smelled in 25 years. And then you'll get a whiff of that, and that'll bring you back to your childhood days. Like, wait, this used to smell like something when I was a kid.
Yeah, because they don't make that stuff anymore. I don't think they even sell that anymore.
I've never heard of it.
You remember when you were a kid, they had these little straws they sold, little red straws, and it was like in a tube. It was like a tri-colored goop that you'd put at the end of the straw, and you could blow bubbles with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That had a distinct smell. Absolutely.
Yeah, it did.
Not so long ago, I smelt it. Now, I didn't know where it was coming from or whatever, but I was like, that was the smell of the stuff in that tube from 1975. You know, I'm like, where did this come from? You know, it's kind of crazy.
Now, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I remember, like, doing, you know, that stuff. I forget what it's called. But I remember it was almost like the scent or what they made it with would give you a high, like, kind of like huffing paint or something.
Oh my God. Do y'all remember when we're really getting off topic now, speaking of smells, but when we'd be still in elementary school and the teacher would get a fresh batch of mimeograph paper, and we'd all huff the purple ink? I mean, we were huffers back then, man. We were like 7 years old, and we were huffing papers. I mean, y'all about?
Yeah.
I mean, some people to this day, and I'm one of them, when I stop at a gas station, I love the smell of gasoline.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, so do I.
I don't like it on my shoes, but I like it, yeah.
Right, yeah. It's like a smell you can tolerate, man. You know, it's like, and you get a little lightheaded, so yeah, you're catching the buzz off it, but God knows, I mean, God knows how many brain cells you're burning.
That's true.
Let's go hang out at a gas station and
Oh my
help
God.
with gas.
Well, but it's true. It's like, I mean, a teacher would, the teacher's assistant would come in with a fresh batch of that mimeograph paper, and the teacher would hand out, and we'd be huffing. It'd be like a simultaneous. Talk about mass hallucination. Let's talk about mass huff.
The whole 30 kids in the classroom, plus the teacher getting high.
Serious. No wonder we have such memories of childhood. We were all probably stoned half of our, elementary school years.
Oh, yeah. Today's kids got it easy. We grew up with the hard stuff.
Serious.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All this eco-friendly crap. You just made me think of it. Actually, I think it was in New Jersey. They used to have a show on, and it was about people. It wasn't My Strange Addiction, which is on now, but it was like another addiction show, like when people are addicted to drugs and what have you.
Right.
And they had, it was a young guy. I mean, it was sad. I'm not trying to make a joke of it, but it was, I mean, it was funny. He would huff paint out in his, like the tool shed kind of thing in his yard.
Right.
And, of course, it's documentary style, so they go out there and, the parents called and help, and I was like, I never thought about that before. And he was like, I was like, what the hell is huffing paint? And they went out there, and there he was in the corner, and he would open these cans of paint and, like, inhale it, huff it, whatever you want to call it, and he would put it right up to his face, so he always had this freaking ring of paint.
Oh, yeah. Now you got red paint all over your nose and your face. What were you doing? Oh, nothing. I was just, my face ran into the wall.
Yep.
I'm
getting the visual right now. Oh, my God.
It just struck me so funny, and I was like, oh, I feel, the poor guy obviously had issues, but I was like, really? I mean, smoke pot or something, like.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever
happened to the good old marijuana? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
I mean, that's Mother Earth. That's, all natural, This other stuff is,
yes.
It's, with synthetic stuff and poisons and toxins you're putting in your body.
Yep.
Says the smoker.
Right?
Let me go suck some formaldehyde out of my.
Oh wow! Yep.
I know. Some days I think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
I mean, there's stuff that I remember being like 8 years old, taking too many marshmallows on a toothpick and taking my mother's cigarette lighter.
What?
Wait, you were smoking marshmallows? That's it.
No, it's like they're on a little. I had nothing going on, Gary. I'm serious. I had nothing going on. So I would take. It's like kids. Parents didn't watch their kids back then. I don't know why we bitch about parents not watching their kids now. Because so I would go and I'd climb up the cupboard and I'd get too many marshmallows and I'd get a toothpick and I'd take my mother's cigarette lighter and I'd roast marshmallows with her cigarette lighter. Nobody said a word.
Oh Lord, those were the good old days, huh?
You know what I'm telling you, and I'm alive to talk about it too.
That's what my friends do. She's hardcore. She has how many marshmallows she can do in a night.
So maybe when we go.
What are you doing? I'm doing marshmallows. Oh, sure you are. Seriously, I'm doing marshmallows.
Let's
when
go
we go on a New Jersey expedition, we'll bring a case of marshmallows.
Damn
It's got to
right.
be the little ones, and it's got to be little toothpicks with lighters.
No,
We're talking lighter fluid. I mean, whatever butane, I was inhaling with my marshmallows.
we're going big time. We're using the large marshmallows with the wooden skewers. So we can
Oh my God, I see my pants sitting out in the pine barrens. What do you guys do?
Oh my God!
Wait,
see how these? I'm telling you, let's talk about how these discussions evolve, right? Marshmallows. The Jersey Devil to smoking marshmallows on a toothpick.
I don't know, but it's all good fun. I'm having a good time.
Let's think about it. Our generation. Let's face it. We all did our share of experimenting with pot, drugs, whatever you want to call it. Not the stuff they do nowadays. At least I didn't. But it all has to take its toll. So I think it just shows our mentality and dead brain cells at our age from all the stuff we used to do.
Is that it? Okay.
I mean, you could be in a conversation with somebody, and a deep conversation, and all of a sudden you get a brain fart. You can't remember what you were talking about, and you're like, wait, what was I just talking about? Well, there you go. That was something for you when you were a kid.
I love it when I can't remember somebody's name, and I'm like, it's so freaking obvious that I cannot remember their name. And like, and someone, and oh shit, what was your name? We were just talking. What the? Oh my God, that's happening more and more. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah, well, those are kickbacks from the good old days.
Yep. Okay. As long as it has nothing to do with the fact that we're getting old, it's just a kickback from our youth. That's all right. I'll take it.
That's where I'm going. I'm never gonna fess up to.
I'm taking that route.
Like that every step of the way.
I'm taking that route as well.
I'm going to cover it up.
Me too.
I'm so stuck on the marshmallow. I
used to do it all the time.
I could just see the cops coming along. Like, it's like if someone gives you just these bits of truth, but you put them together. What are you guys doing? We're looking for the Jersey Devil. Oh, uh-huh. What do you got in your mouth? We're stuck in marshmallows. They'd be like, these people have dropped some acid. I don't know what they're doing, but you guys are coming with me. Get in the car.
Oh, my God.
Put your hands behind your back. We're taking you to the station.
Assume the position.
That's great. So,
now,
go ahead.
Trying to go back on topic, which, like, who wants to? But anyway, now your personal, what is the freakiest thing you've ever experienced in your paranormal ventures?
Well, the house in Secaucus that I moved to was my year I was going into high school. And I had moved in the summer before my junior year. And, once a couple things happened, I'd say a couple months after moving in, little things, a knock, then footsteps. And then me and my sister shared the attic, which was barn style. And she had one end of the house, and I had the other end of the house, and that was our room. But the weirdest thing that happened to me, I mean, doors would slam, you'd hear voices, people talking, but nobody was home. But the thing that freaked me out the one day, I came home from school and was just sitting on my bed, getting ready to take a nap. And I had one of them stereos where you got to put the needle on the record.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So put it this way, there was no reverse on the 33 vinyls on this particular model. So the stereo went on by itself, and I happened to have Iron Maiden on the turntable, and it started playing. It went on by itself and started playing backwards. I swear to God, I don't think I hit a step on the way out of the house.
Oh.
Out of the house. And I waited for one of my parents to get home before I went in that house. I mean, and it didn't happen to me. My sister got hit in the head with a crucifix that was 3 feet away. Came off the wall and hit her. I mean, the house is definitely haunted. I mean, and then I'd ask my stepmother years later, you know, did you ever experience anything? And she said, absolutely. And I asked my father the same thing, and he said yes. I mean, so there was definitely activity going on in that house.
Mm-hmm. Do they still live there? Or
well, what they did, whoever bought it, they went, you know, they gutted it and went up higher and wider and stuff like that. I would love to ring the doorbell and say, listen, you know, when you guys were doing the contract, you know, the reconstruction of the home, did you guys experience or are you experiencing anything as of this day? But I don't want to scare the shit out of them, you know.
Right.
I don't want to say, hey, this is a teenager, this is where I lived. You know, I experienced a lot of paranormal activity. Have you? You know, I don't want to scare them, but I would love to know if it still exists there.
Right.
You know, but
have you ever heard Iron Maiden backwards?
No, that was the first time. You know, for the stereo to go on by itself and the record to play backwards, really, I mean, I think the blood rushed out of my body. I was probably white as a ghost. I couldn't get out of the house fast enough. I mean,
that would have done it for me.
Yeah, toilets would flush by themselves with nobody home. And my uncle was plumbing in the house, so there was nothing wrong with the plumbing. You know, doors would slam. You'd hear people coming up the stairs, so you go to greet them, you know, at the top of the stairway, and there was nobody coming up the stairs. So, I mean, yeah, that kind of freaked the shit out of me.
What's interesting, a lot of stories or places that are, you know, people have paranormal activity, you hear a lot about the toilet flushing, which I think is interesting because it's not electric.
Right.
But that is a common thing that you hear a lot.
I mean, even if the water pressure was low or high for that matter, I don't think that would cause the toilet flush. You know? I mean, somebody physically has to push that handle down.
Well, I mean, the only thing I could think of is how that would be affected is water is one of the biggest carriers of, you know, energy and whatever water, whatever kind of water it may be, you have a lot of hauntings around water. Now, granted, everyone has a toilet, I'm assuming, and but so it's just interesting how you hear that a lot with hauntings.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a witness to this. I mean, this ain't stuff I'm making up, and no, it's not the drugs I did. It really happened.
Gary, you didn't do any drugs.
I'd love to be the part of a team, and I'd love to investigate. And sure enough, you know, through Jason, he's given me the shot. You know, and I can't thank him enough.
And he's a good teacher, a fun teacher, but he's good. He's really good to learn from.
And I'll tell you, I worked with him a couple times, and we've never had a problem, and communication is always open. And, you know, we work well together. I got to say that, you know.
Yep.
So I'm thankful for that.
Now, I realize we only have a few minutes, but I wanted to see what both your opinions are on this, and it's a little off topic, but it's something that struck me this week. I read several things about, and I hate bringing it up, but Robin Williams' suicide. Yes, I loved him dearly. We've heard about it a million times, but the subject, because of it, the subject of suicide got brought up as far as the paranormal field goes, and somebody asked a question about, let me see if I can say this right. For instance, if somebody commits suicide, some people's belief, and I admit I've thought this way myself a lot, and I don't know if it's being brought up Catholic, I don't know, but the theory of if you commit suicide and your spirit leaves the body, being kind of in
do some kind of penance or whatever you call it. Do I think that people who kill themselves have to be punished a little bit more? Personally, no, I don't think so.
Well, I hope not, because I had an older sister that committed suicide.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I think that they've done, they've almost done their hell on earth already.
Right.
They were suffering, and I never thought about that before, and someone called it chronic.
No, I've heard so many comments lately, people that do this selfish, and somebody pointed it out just the other day, and it was on Facebook, actually. They said, you know what, until you've hit rock bottom, like several of us have, and I couldn't remember who it was that posted this, you don't think like that. You think that you exiting the world, you are so at the bottom of where you're ever going to be, you don't think you'll ever be missed.
Right. I mean, and when you do something like that, not only are you doing it to yourself, but you affect everyone that's ever known you.
Right, exactly. Because they all feel like people are telling Robin Williams' daughter and son and family, y'all should have caught this. Now, how cool can that be? They're already kicking themselves and
that they're not supposed to. I mean, there's help out there, people. I mean, if you're that depressed, reach out to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're all helplines, and there's people you can talk to. I mean, and you said you don't think it's a selfish act. In a way, I kind of do, because, I mean, in a way, I still don't forgive my sister for doing what she did, but I know she was depressed, Mm-hmm. She went with my mother back to Holland, and my sister didn't know nobody but everybody in Jersey, She had no friends over there. She had no, people that, she was just her and my mother. So, I could see, she's 18 years old. She's got, she's lost everything she's ever known. And, in a way, I do think it's selfish, but only because not that she just hurt herself, but everybody that that knew her, So, I mean, everybody's got a different opinion on it, but I do forgive her, of course. And blew his brains out in front of his family.
Oh. How do you recover from that? You don't.
You don't. You know what I mean? So, I mean, to do that in front of your family, I mean, come on. Why would you do something like that?
To me, that sounds very anger-based. So, I mean, there's so many reasons to why people do things what they do, but for them to do it so that their family has to, that's almost like one final act of gotcha, or, you had, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Well, I hate to cut it short, but I think our time has grown short. And I want to thank Gary so much for coming on. And
my pleasure.
We got to put a Jersey Devil project together. Seriously, that would be so much fun.
Right, we can get that ball rolling.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds like a good summer 2015 project.
I'd be a bitch after 4 days, but I think you just have to deal with it.
Yep.
Thank you, Sue.
Like 4 days is different. How?
Okay, well, two. Yeah, I know, right? 2 days. But thanks for listening to Dawn at Night, and every Thursday night at 7. And I have to just say, Tiff and Denny, DTM, Wicked Radio are like the most awesome